Welcome to the Jessica's Music Talk Pod. I hope everybody is okay. Thank you very much to all the people who are watching this video. And don't forget that the best way to support the podcast is to subscribe to the channel, to put a like on the videos, and also to follow the artists through the links that I always put in the description of the videos. And doing that, you are not only supporting the podcast, but also the artists who are interviewed here in the podcast. And it makes also the podcast grow and the artists' pages grow too. So thank you very much to everybody who is true to the podcast and who follows it. And today I'm very happy. I will receive a very special guest. You heard his name several times during this podcast in other episodes because I worked with him for a long time, and he released a new album, and I am very, very glad and honored to receive today LATA GOUVEIA. How are you, LATA?
Jessica, Jessica. I'm doing fine. How are you? You're doing good? Oh, by the way, we're doing this in
Yeah,
English
I'm doing
because
fine.
we're doing this. We could have done it in Portuguese, but we're doing it in English because I figured that, I don't have much of a Portuguese following. So I guess the people I know who would be interested in checking out the podcast would they wouldn't get it in Portuguese. So let's stick
Of
to
course.
English.
Yeah, and all the Portuguese people we know, they also speak
Yeah, they
English, so
probably understand it. Yeah.
they will understand the interview for sure. So
Mm.
I think it's good to do it in English too, because we know so many people, so many people that follow you from Luxembourg and also from the States and
Mm-hmm.
other countries. And yes, and it's great to share this interview with them too.
Yeah.
I say hello to all the friends in Luxembourg. I miss you all.
Mm.
If you are listening to this interview. And I also say hello to all the friends in Portugal, of course. And you did a lot of interviews at Radio Latina in Portuguese. So if people really want to listen you speaking in Portuguese, they can
Mm.
go to Latina's
Yeah.
website.
I'll probably go there soon again for the new album and stuff. You know. Yeah, I actually love doing interviews with Christina too. She's very cool. But anyway, let's do Jessica's Music Talk Pod.
Yeah.
I'm actually a little bit embarrassed that even Benny did it before me and stuff. I should have been like the first one or one of the first ones. But you know how it is. I've got two kids, and even today was as you know was a tight squeeze to get it done. But I'm glad we're doing it.
I know, and for me it's a good sign, because if you are very busy, it means you are also working a lot, and working a lot for your music, and you recorded a new album, and with uh, musicians you didn't work before this album, so
Mhm.
you had, I'm sure you had much more work for this album than the usual,
Mhm.
let's say it like this. And yes, and I always say everything happens at the perfect timing, so
That's a good way to start. The perfect timing. The perfect timing. Also, in terms of the era, the times that we live in, because it's over. Because it's like people talk about music industry. It just like it makes me laugh because it's. I feel lucky because I started in like 93 or something like that. And so when I started, there was still the legitimate dream of, I want to be a rock star. I want to get signed to a major label. And then, as you know, like there was the different, it's death by a thousand cuts. First it was the internet, then and little by little, the industry just started dying, and it became a series of internet apps and internet subscriptions, and it became inevitably like democratized. I guess that's what they say. So I could actually fart into my phone right now and release it on DistroKid tomorrow morning, and it would be on your Spotify by next month, and then I could put nice ads saying pre-save my fart, and so so everyone's a pro, everyone's a professional, everyone's a star. Everyone gets an ice cream and a couple of likes, so as long as you don't take it too seriously, you won't suffer too much, but I'm lucky in terms of era, because I think I still did a good 15, 20 years where it was still relevant to be professional. It was still relevant to be perfectionist. It was still relevant to, like you said, work hard. It's no longer relevant.
And now with AI.
Exactly. And that's like the thousand cuts. The AI is really the one that's going to kill it completely. Because it will force us to question everything, to question why do we do it, and what is it we're doing, and I don't see it necessarily as a bad thing. Maybe because I lived long enough to play some nice stages, and to drink some nice beers on stage and smoke some joints, and have do some rock and roll. I did that, and I did some nice records, some nice professional records with some really great musicians and producers and stuff. So I feel like I was very lucky and privileged. Also, I come from a time when I make money from copyright, from droit d'auteur, from SACEM. So and I still, and it seems like it's
I
one of those
remember
things.
that.
Well, and the older you get, it just accumulates.
Mm.
So I'm very, very lucky to be an old guy in this scene, because old, in relation to all the, let's say, even like late teenagers who have all these dreams, and it's
You
like,
you knew the stuff before all this new technology.
yeah, but I mean, like, if I was now 18 or 22 years old, I would be in the same situation they are, which is very, very, very hopeless. Very hopeless, because of the dream that they sold us. I mean, that dream was still relevant when I was their age. It was still legitimate. Oh, I want to be a rock star. Nowadays, it's not even like. I mean, it was never very realistic, because, as all of our parents said, "You think you're going to pay your rent with music? You never." That was always the speech, right?
Oh
But
yeah, I know.
but some people still made it back then. And I'm sorry to say that right now that you have 0% chance of succeeding. Zero, right? I don't mean to be negative, but that's the reality. I mean, you could try and get into the DD party and become something else, but
In
being
the
a mus-
future.
as far as being a musician that plays their own music, that collects a ton of fans and is going to go on tour, and this dream, this is over. People have to realize this is finished. And I know there's always going to be like, well, I still do it, man. I play with my metal band and we do. Yeah, sure, do it. But you've probably been doing it for more than 10 years if you're actually getting some gigs. No, what I mean is also with AI, and I don't see it necessarily as a bad thing, that we have to question everything. And this project, I can tell you about my latest album, which is also in terms of timing, I think it's pretty perfect for me because, for years I had I wrote this Americana rock pop stuff, like
It was not really
just,
pop. It
yeah,
was
well, it
more
was this kind of
folk
like
rock.
almost like Billy Idolish kind of Dire
Yeah.
Straits type stuff, right?
Yes. Bruce
I mean,
Springsteen.
that was the vein, and
Mm.
and it made sense. In fact, I have a single coming out next month, Heaven Can Wait, where it was still that approach, like you need a really good drummer, which means a tight drummer, and Paul Porcelli is a genius guitar player and stuff.
Yes.
I had Tom Heck now on bass for this one. But that was the name of the game. Was like, you need to, the skill was to not only have a nice initial idea, but you had to have a good melody, a good text, and then to make a good arrangement with the song. And if you want to be on the radio, keep it not too long, and do the classic intro, verse, bridge, verse two, chorus, da da da, you know
A
uh,
middle eight sometimes.
and middle it sometimes, if you're not too greedy. um
I
and
remember
basically,
my singer-songwriters workshops.
no, but basically, you wanted it to sound, and everyone is like looking for this, it needs to sound professional, right? Like,
Hmm.
and so in this quest to sound professional, you're looking for tightness. The drummer's not speeding up or slowing down. It's finished. AI can do it better than you now. In fact, the problem that I have with the single that's coming out next month is that it's Jeff Hare on drums. It's very tight. It's very tight. It's a rock beat. It's a tight rock riff. You know, the vocals are in tune, so you don't know. There's no difference between this that took me so long, so much work and rehearsal to do. AI can do it in 3 seconds. And and and
Yeah.
and the thing is, because it's very tight, it's even closer to AI. And you start thinking, fuck, we should have made some more mistakes just to prove. It's almost like we got to the stage in music, like when you're trying to log on to a site and it says, show me how many bicycles are in the squares to prove that you're not a human. Like you have to do that with your music now. You have to prove that you're a
Yeah.
human. So you almost have to make mistakes to prove that it's a human who made this piece of music. It's over. As
But you
far
know
as
what? I feel it. I don't know how to tell you, but I feel it when it's AI. I just
yeah,
it just doesn't sound human.
sure,
It
but
will never sound
but
very
Jessica,
human.
do you consider yourself like to be the average? Are you the average person driving your car, going to work? Are you the average? Let's go to watch Coldplay in the football stadium in
No,
Coimbra. Are you
I
that
would
person? No,
never
you're
go
not
to
that
see
person.
Coldplay. Sorry for all the Coldplay fans.
No,
Nothing
fuck
against them, but
Coldplay fans. Fuck them. It's their world now. So they already won. There's no point to labor anymore on that. But what's interesting and what's positive out of this, and this is where it links with the album that I did in Morocco last year, that I'm releasing now, is that it is. I mean, I've felt it for years now, even before AI and stuff. I felt, and I remember having these long conversations with you about this. Like, is it really legitimate? Who do we think we are that we have the right to become rock stars? Or that's not a legitimate ambition. You know, that's almost like saying, I want to be king of this country. It's like you don't have the right to thousands of people worshiping you and thinking you're a genius. That's not a right. And it's like, oh, if you work hard enough, you can. That's not a legitimate dream. I always felt that this is not a legitimate dream. And I always had a problem with these guys. Like, I remember seeing John Bon Jovi back in the days saying, we do it for the fans and for the fans. And it's like, fuck the fans. What are you talking about? What if you're doing it for the fans, guess what? AI can do it better than you.
Yeah.
AI can do it better than you.
Yeah, but when I speak with musicians today, the most of them here in Portugal, as in other countries, the most of them say that they are not worshiping to be a rock star or to be famous. They say if it happens, okay, but they just want to live from their music. And this is already a battle today.
Yeah,
just
sure,
to
sure.
live from their music,
Sure, but listen,
not to be famous. You know what I mean?
Sure, but that's kind of a way of saying, like, no, don't get me wrong. I'm a cool person, really. I'm not an asshole. I don't want to be a famous guy. I just want to live from my music. Okay, let's see. How legitimate is that? Okay. If you're playing weddings, I have the huge respect for you. Huge respect for you.
Yeah, for example.
You go to a wedding, you put up with the drunk people telling you, can you play John Mayer? If they have nice taste, and you do it, and it's a job, and you work, and you rehearse your 40-song set list, and I have a lot of respect for that. I have respect for people who practice their instrument. I have respect for people who write their song. I have respect for all artists, but I completely lost respect for the ambition aspect of it. I don't think that musicians have the right to have any ambition in this day, because it's like, and we always knew this, but we always thought it's wrong, but it's not that it's wrong. It's just that we have to adapt. The world is not the way we wished it would be. Like, I remember, like, you go to a bar and they say, oh, how much does your band charge? Well, we charge 400 euros. That's too much. I can get a band for 200.
It still happens today.
And then if you're an asshole like me, you say, okay, get your band for 200. Fuck you. It's you. But for a lot of artists, that's the big problem. It's like, because I need to play, I have to play. I don't need to play. I don't care. If Saturday comes around, Friday comes around, I don't have a gig, I don't care. I'm not desperate to go in front of people to show them what I can do. I feel that this is kind of like a sickness of the artist, and I think it gets in the way of the art. It really gets in the way. And that's where I see that the positive thing is that, with AI, for example, I even had an experience now with an AI mastering app that took a song and made a good mastering, a really good mastering. And then the sound engineer who specialized in mastering, he's going to say, yes, but it doesn't sound the same. If it's a human being doing it, it's going to be better. Oh, yeah? Well, I can't tell the difference. Okay? I've been making music for 30 years. I can't tell the difference. Sounds pretty good, this mastering, And so...
But this is scary too, It sounds so scary.
No, but what I mean is, like, in general, if you take this into a general kind of bombastic statement, I feel that, and this is where I see the positive side of it, is that it's not about the result anymore. It's not about the result anymore, because the result, you can get it. AI can get it. Or even you can do halfway, and then you can ask AI to do the last part. You can do like the demo and then say, yeah, can you make this sound good? And the AI will do the last part and make it sound, make your voice sound better, make a better arrangement, put it all in tune. But, and the scary thing with AI is that you can even say, that's too perfect. Can you put a few mistakes? And they will put the mistakes in there as well. Okay, so
My
so
God.
so it's getting that way. And even if it can't do that today, it will be able to do it in 2 weeks' time. So I mean, like in terms of the
Yeah.
conversation, what I think is very positive is that it's going to, whether you agree with me or not, it doesn't matter, because what matters is what will really happen. It's not a question of opinion, it's what will happen. And what will happen is that um, if you do not enjoy the process, so if you're focused on the result, right? I can't wait for the single to be ready, I want to hear the final version. Then you're going to lose everything.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna have zero benefit
Yeah.
from your musical activities, you know,
I agree
right? Because the result doesn't matter
completely.
anymore, because
Yeah.
music has also changed, with Spotify and stuff like that. Music now is a soundtrack to people's. It's a customized soundtrack to people's lives. People don't even realize what this AI revolution is going to bring, because it's different
Yeah.
from other industrial revolutions. In a traditional industrial revolution, if Renault builds a factory, they're going to have Renault Clios coming out, right? Like thousands of Renault Clios that all look the same. The thing with the AI revolution is that everyone can have a different Renault Clio, slightly different shape, perfectly adapted to your taste, right? And so very soon you're going to be able to say, well, I really like Michael Jackson. I really love his music, but I think he's a little bit too, can you make him a little bit more macho, a little bit more masculine? And the AI will say, sure. And then you're going to have like Billie Jean, it's
Oh my God.
and the AI will do it for you. So
Yeah.
the AI will even change the artists that you like, make them better for your taste.
Yeah.
You can say,
Yeah.
I really love Chris Rea. He's got that sexy voice, the road to hell, right? But he's kind of ugly. Can you make him prettier, And the AI will make him prettier and
He
sexier.
was not
More,
ugly.
okay. So you're with my wife on that one. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like, it's becoming like, it's became a consumer focused experience where the consumer is really like just with any other product, the consumer gets to choose the color, the size, the length. It's just a product like any other product, and
Yeah.
so like any other product, if you think your creativity is worth something, sorry to break the news to you, but if your creativity does not match the mood, you're driving your car and you're going to the beach and you got your girlfriend and you want some smooth shade type music, something sexy. Doesn't matter if you're Kurt Cobain. Sorry, man, you don't fit that. You don't fit that movie in my head right now. And so this idea, like in the old days, that people would go and they would queue up to buy the new album. They queue in the street waiting for the
Yeah.
first day, or that they would go and queue up for the concert tickets. Maybe the concerts will be the last thing to fade away.
Mm.
But music becomes a product that is not really, it's not really art. Okay, and
Mm.
it hasn't been. Let's not kid ourselves. It hasn't been art for a long time. But because we are artists, we don't like the truth. No, but for me it is. For me it is. No, for me it's not like that. No, but you are not the world. You live in your own little head. In your own little head, you're a genius. But for the rest of the world, it's like music is just a product. It's
Yeah.
just something that has to match something else. You know?
You know what I think this will, the result of this will be, it will be the same as when they created washing machines and wash dishwashers, because
Yeah.
nowadays,
How many
if you
people
don't
said?
if you don't have a washing machine, you are not used to wash
Yeah.
your clothes alone. So
Yeah.
this will create what? This will create people who will use AI to correct everything they do, even if they don't know how to sing, even if they don't know
It's
how to
already there. I
play
mean,
very
that's already.
well, they will use AI to correct everything. And then imagine, just imagine, because I always tell the people, we have to be aware that this can really happen. Because when I say that, people laugh at me, but we have to be aware that it can happen, that one day internet, electricity, every, imagine, just imagine the
Of
scene,
course, I mean, it
everything
can all
goes
break down.
down.
But remember, we used to talk about
Everything
that.
goes down. You don't have electricity anymore, you don't have internet anymore, you don't have AI.
Listen, remember
If
the
you want to
problems we
live from
used
your
to
music,
have.
how you will do if you
Remember
don't
the
know how to
problems we used
sing?
to have at the open mics? We used to have this problem at the open mics where I was like, no, you got a fucking cable and you got a microphone and you
Yeah, with
show
the
me
loop
and you show
stations.
me what you can do. Don't bring your fucking loop station and your synthesizer and your sampler and like
I remember that.
and your laptop that's going to throw the beats and fuck you. What if there was no electricity?
Yeah.
What can you do, right? So this
And
was
that's why
something
we
that
did the private sessions also.
yeah,
It
at
was
the
not
Banfa.
amplified,
Not even a
and
microphone. Yeah. Not
not
even a
even a
microphone.
mic. And
Yeah.
that was the real deal. Man, if you don't know how to sing, how to play,
Yeah.
you cannot do this.
But you were talking about washing machines, and I'm sure that when they created washing machines, there was plenty of people saying, "But it doesn't wash the same as a human being. When I wash, it's better than the machine." And sooner or later, you can resist and resist, but sooner or later you think, just buy the machine, you know. And but I don't think this is a huge problem when it comes to music, because anyway, music was pretty poisoned already for many years, in terms of, from my perspective, in terms of uh, it was poisoned by ambition and by this confusion between making music and being somebody. Not even the money, because a lot of, in the last few years, it's not even for the money, but even just for the likes. Oh, I got
Yeah.
2,000 likes on my
But the
post.
likes are the money.
Yeah, it's like an ego money, right? And I think music was pretty poisoned from this idea that it was a vehicle to be somebody, a vehicle to feel important or to feel validated or to feel like worthy. It was like a self-esteem vehicle, and people really accepted that. Because I mean, if you look at everyone's behavior, like, and we've seen it over the years, even our own behavior. Oh, they're not singing very well, they're very nervous on stage, but you support, because you have to build their self-esteem, because that's what it's about. And so it was poisoned from all sides. Music was poisoned from all sides. Why? Because it was so focused on achieving a result, reaching an audience, and getting the right opinion from that audience, that being liked. It was so important, and like, that's the poison of music, is this desire to be liked. People should like me, you know and in my time, in my days, in the 90s, like, you still had clans. And so, like, if you were metal, you were metal. If you were rock, you were rock. If you were punk, you were punk. And like, if the other guys don't good, you don't want to be liked by the other gang. If you get some
Mhm.
punk guy saying, "Hey, I really dig your metal band," you go like, "Fuck, we're doing something wrong," right? So, but that was in my era. But nowadays, I mean, I the experience we had with the Grund Club for years, and how many young musicians came through the open mics and the shows, and how many of them, who are now in their 30s, and they were 17 when they,
Like
right?
Tally came to our open mic,
Yeah, but a lot of them,
for example,
and I
Adrian.
never felt this, like, and this was something that used to break my heart. This idea of the kid plays a certain style and he plays a certain thing, but if he senses that he's going to get more likes, he's going to
Yeah.
have more opportunities, more success,
Mhm.
if he changes his name, if he changes his if he changes his style of music, if he allows some producer to build his whole fucking soundscape, because anyway people only really like the voice or something like that, you know. And I was always so heartbroken to see how so many young artists, they had actually really no integrity, because that's what integrity is to say, no, I do this in this way, this is my style, this is my song, you don't change it. And if you tell me, oh, but nobody's gonna like it, I don't care. But this is not the reality of young musicians nowadays, because they don't even understand. Well, if you don't want to be liked, then why do you do it? This has become the logic. This has become the reality. Like, of course you do it to be liked. Then what's the point of doing it, right? And so this is why I am happy that AI is destroying this whole bullshit. It's all down the toilet, all of it, you know, because you better have pretty good tit implants now, because
Yeah.
that's pretty much all that you have left to sell in the music industry. If you are in this kind of course, someone can say, yeah, but there are niches. You know, someone can say there is a metal community that will follow the metal and that will
The
discover
jazz.
that the up and coming, the newcomers of metal will have an audience that will come to the club and pay the €2.50, because it's metal, to see the show and whatever, you know. So there's still this sense of like, let's create a community, but it doesn't hold up. The structure, it's just a dream. It's not real. It's not real. It doesn't scale anymore. You know, there won't be the stadium with 70,000 die-hard fans. They won't be there. They'll be there for something that was created for them. They will be there for something that was there was a market research. There was a whole entrepreneurial project.
The old ones will always be there, because if you see all bands like Rolling Stones and all the old ones, all the people from the 80s and the 70s, they continue to have full stadiums and have people following them. And everybody who came after the 2000s,
but they will die, Jessica.
Hard work for them.
If you think of me like my traditional rock band, you know, the people who really love my music, most of them, they are my age and older. So they are like anywhere between 50 and 80. And they will all be dead sooner or later, you know? And it's really just something that most younger people cannot relate to, you know? Cannot relate to it. It's a different vibe. And I'm not just putting down young people. I'm just saying that the way that society and technology evolved, actually, this is fixing something that for me was a huge problem. For me, it's not a problem because, you know, like last year, I did my 30-year show with the best musicians that I know, in a wonderful room that sounds great, the Opta Schmelz, great, fantastic sound, super professional. You know, so I've had my little ego cakes, you know, and birthday parties and whatever occasions, and the opening act for Sting and the opening act for, you know, I got to do that stuff. So I'm not at all
nice.
I'm not at all bitter about any of this. But now I can tell you about the project that I did in Morocco, because I feel that this is, for me, it's the way, because it was completely different from anything I've done before. So basically, I've been going to Morocco for a long time, for 3 years. I love desert blues music, because I did the opening act for Bombino in Culture Fabric in 2016.
And the desert blues.
Yeah, desert blues stuff. So it's like basically African music played with the same back line that my band plays with. Two electric guitars, bass, drums, but they play desert blues, you know. They sound African, they sound Tuareg, you know. And so, you know, I got into all of that. Tammy Crest, Tinari Wen. I already was a big Ali Farka Touré fan anyway. And because I lived in Guinea-Bissau as a kid, I also had some more African roots in my brain, you know. Like I'm a big fan of Salif Keita and Fela Kuti, and people
I
like this.
discovered Fela with you.
Yeah.
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 You showed me all these guys. That's true. I discovered.
So, you know, I love like a variety of African music, but I fell in love with the desert itself, the landscape, and I fell in love most of all with the people. My God, it's a different planet, you know. Yeah. It's a different planet.
Another mentality.
I've never seen different. You know, and it's funny because then I come back to Europe, you know, and everyone's like, they're Muslim. And it's like, I've never seen such dignified people, such trustworthy people of their word, people who decide with their heart, you know, such generous, kind people.
And they are still connected to the nature too.
And connected to each other, you know, in a fundamentally humble way, you know. But anyway, not to get into a geopolitical nightmare here. Just let's get back to the music, you know. So I fell in love with the music, and I thought, oh, I have to do a project there. So it took me a couple of years. I made friends with a few musicians there because there's this little village on the edge of the desert. It's actually already in the desert, Mahamid. They have 3 festivals every year: the Festival des Nomades, the Festival Zaman, and the Festival Tahagalt. And so these are festivals where you see sometimes like big international stars like Bombino, like Tinari Wen, like Vieux Farka Touré, like people like that. But you also see some of the more local, and when I say local, they could be from Algeria or Mali, or, you know, some of the more local
from the Atlas
stuff. No, the Atlas is more the Berber music, but from the local desert tradition, you know, and they have a few really cool bands like Tarwan Tiniri. They're like brothers to me now. Dra Tribes, again, you know, like we recorded it in their village, and they were around the whole time we were recording, you know. So it's very, from a human point of view, it's very cool. But to get back to the other subject is, so I started working with the bass player from Tarwan Tiniri, Ismail. And then I asked the producer, he's a Polish guy called Adi, who's working in Barcelona now. And he's got a funny story because he spent the whole COVID period in Morocco because he refused to go back to Poland when the embassy said, "Oh, you know," he said, "No, I'm staying here." And he recorded a bunch of bands in Morocco, and he became kind of a well-known record producer in the scene because he was just stuck there for 2 years recording everybody, you know. And so he was the engineer on the project, and he recommended the percussionist from Agadir, a guy called Aimad Kachina. This guy, they call him the Octopus because, well, he won the African Percussion Championship in 2019. So like that's out of 27 African countries, he got the first prize. And he's a funny guy, a very special person. But he's an expert of knowing all the rhythms, you know, like this is Maghreb, this is Gnawa, this is, you know, and the rhythms are really the biggest challenge for a Western musician. It's not you know, I mean, they all play pentatonic. Problem is the rhythms, man. Like you don't know how you're counting, you know, like so many times in rehearsal, like I start my riff and they all go, no, you're on the off.
Wow.
So then it's like you have to think, you know, like if you're gonna clap, you always get it wrong, and they're clapping on the off from where you're clapping, and it's, and then they have their own, let's say, even arrangement traditions. Like, for example, you sing a verse, the lead singer sings a verse. The next thing that happens in the song is they sing the same verse again, but everybody joins in. So now it's the same verse with many voices, no harmonies. Everyone's in unison. Okay.
Wow.
They don't really use vocal harmonies. They're all like just, they're all just like in the same. But that gives it a certain, it keeps it kind of like, it reminds me a bit of John Lee Hooker, like for me, he was always so different from the other blues greats like the B.B. Kings and stuff. John Lee didn't really get into the major blues. John Lee Hooker was really just about that E minor. It was just that fucking E minor, and whoa, and that was just so powerful. It was so genuine, so authentic. He didn't have any tricks. It wasn't about impressing anyone. And he just, without trying, he impressed everybody, because it's like, wow,
the less is more thing.
And it was like the voice of a slave, man. It was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like when you hear like the Buddy Guys and like, they're so slick and the skills and and the tricks, and okay, fine, like I'm not a blues player, so I don't care about that. And
Howling Wolf too. Howling Wolf was
yeah, it was pretty raw.
Oh yeah.
Pretty raw. I put a spell on you.
I like it.
But so we put the band together, and then we only had we had 2 weeks before going to the studio. And the problem is that the second week was all gigs. We were gigging in these hotels around the in Ouarzazate and in Zagora and Agdes, Merzouga, and in between, I sneaked in a visit to Festival Taragal to watch because she was playing there in trio, and I had to see that in the desert, and I had to take Paul Porcelli to see that, so we did about 3,000 kilometers in those 2 weeks. But so I had the rehearsals with these two guys for a week. And then Paul, because Paul couldn't get the time off work, he arrived the day of the first show. So then we played like 4, 5, 6 shows, and then we went to the studio to record. And me, being a good boy, being a good LATA GOUVEIA folk singer Americana pop rock songwriter, I prepared. So I had a list of songs that I had, I had my little paper, and I had demos, my little computer, and like all these ideas and riffs, and I was super organized, And now here comes the first rehearsal. We stayed at a hotel where I'm friends with the owner, and so they allowed us to rehearse at the breakfast table at the hotel. So we had rehearsal from 10, which is when the clients leave, from 10 till about 1 p.m., which is when the new clients start checking in, So we had the hotel to ourselves to rehearse. We were just sitting around the table. And I tell you what, I prepared a bunch of songs. And in the end, we didn't
play.
We didn't do any of those songs in the end. None of those songs are on the record. All my homework down the toilet, because we just started playing. It was like, oh, that's cool. And you're recording on your phone and stuff. It's like, oh, that groove is pretty cool. That's a cool idea. And basically, every day we had like a new song or a new jam that had a certain rhythm. Because I was always asking Imad, look, let's try and do like a menu kind of thing, like each song a different traditional rhythm. Because that's what's going to give it the flavor, right? And so that's how we built the record. But I was actually doing very little. I was just trying to keep up, trying to play a little bit of rhythm guitar, trying to play in the right rhythm, and having some kind of like some melody ideas, some vocal things, And then Paul joined, and I think Paul, the first day, the first rehearsal, he was little bit kind of like, woo, kind of like, so you guys didn't do anything, right? Like, so, like, so there's nothing ready, you know, like, and
They are not like us.
there was not really anything ready. There was a few jams, you know. And then we went to play these gigs, and we played these jams. And then at the gigs, sometimes I would think of a line, you know, uh, and then some lines stayed in the record, you know, like we were doing this jam. I thought, okay, this is very Fela Kuti, you know, and I put the deep voice. I said, I asked my brother, but he don't know, you know, and I was just having fun having a jam, you know, and then we had to go to the studio, and we had 2 days in the studio to make one album, 2 days, and it wasn't a studio; it was a mud hut in Tagunit, because Tagunit they had a big flood 2 years ago, and so our friend Hafid, he lost his house to the flood. And here's another. Here's like a perfect description of the humanity of it, right? So I knew that he lost his house in the flood. Like 2 months earlier, I was at his house with him, having a smoke, and I was telling him, hey, I want to come back and make a record, and I'm because he's the percussionist for the Tribes. So I was thinking about him for the project, but and in the end it was the guy from Agadir. And then I saw on Facebook that he lost his house. The rain just washed his house away. And so when I saw him again, I'm like, hey man, no, so sorry to hear about your house, you know. And he's got a big smile. And he says, you know, birds come back, the animals come back, the plants come back, house you build again. You know, I'm like, wow. So this is like, this is the stuff you cannot get from an app. This is the inspiration you cannot get from an app on your phone or from AI or something like that. And so then we went into the studio and we started recording these jams, and like one and the next and the next, and before you knew it, you know, we had like 6, 7, and then Paul was trying to do some overdubs, but we were sleeping, like it was a house, it wasn't a studio, so it was like a house. So I was actually in the bedroom, and I could hear them jamming in the main room. And I knew that we had to leave for the airport in Agadir on Sunday. We had to leave around lunchtime, and I had to do all the vocals Sunday morning before we leave for the airport. But I didn't have the lyrics. So Saturday night, I wrote all the lyrics to the album in half an hour. All of them. There's a song in Portuguese. There's some songs in English. The boys had some lines in Amazigh, in their language. It's not Arabic. It's their own language. They had some lines in their language. And then on Sunday morning, boom, you know, rolled and I did the vocal takes with the new lyrics I'd just written. And we were all happy that we could do it. We all had fun. Even on Saturday, after I wrote the lyrics, we still jammed until 2 o'clock in the morning. Like I was playing bass, you know, like doing stuff. I mean, you know me, right?
Really?
You know me. I'm not the jam guy, right?
No,
I'm not the guy. Like I'm always like, no, if it's a jam, I'm not coming, right? But
it's like I'm just having a drink and then we go.
Yeah. But in that situation, it was like, wow, you know, just this feeling of like, there's nothing to prove. No one's listening.
It's just creativity.
And like the result, is it going to sound good in the end? It doesn't matter. It really does. I actually remember telling Paul on the drive to Agadir, like, you know what? Even if Adi would now lose the hard drive and the music that we recorded was lost forever, no one will ever hear it. I got what I wanted to get from it. I already got my thing from it. Whatever comes next, I told Paul, whatever comes next is just the bullshit. That's what comes next, is just mix, master, try to make it sound good. Maybe there's a little fine tuning to do. Maybe DDD. Let's add the guitar there. Let's mix it. Let's master it. Let's find the picture for the album. Let's go on the podcast to promote it. DDD. All of this bullshit. That is the part that's dying. It's the part that's dead. And then I have another project because I went to Brazil this year. I went there. I spent Christmas over there, actually. And I was sitting in Copacabana, as you do, having a caipirinha, as you do. And the guys come along. There's these guys walking. They have these walking bands, like threes, sometimes fours.
Yeah.
They come with their tambourines, and they're cavaquinho, and they come and they and they play for you, and then you give them a little money, and they move on to the next terrace.
They do this here in Portugal too.
Yeah,
the Brazilian guys.
Yeah, the tourist thing. They come and they play you like la 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 la. But they're awesome because, like, with one tambourine, it sounds like a whole carnival is coming down the street. And then I was talking to Adi because I had to go to Barcelona. Last time I was in Morocco, I had to fly back to Barcelona because it's 15 euros from Ouarzazate to Barcelona, and he's in Barcelona, so I spent one night talking to Adi, and I was telling him I want to do a record in Brazil because I have some songs that really fit some of those rhythms, like some of the samba rhythms, not really the bossa, like not really the cheesy tack 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 tack, but more like the chum chika chum chika chum chika chum stuff, And I thought, I really want to do a record. Now that I've got the taste for the Morocco thing, I want to do a record with this. And I told him, and and we were discussing like that they're spying on us. And I said, and I went on YouTube to find a generic samba beat, and then I tried my guitar riff, and it fitted. I was so happy. Oh, this fits, And then after that day, I keep getting on my Facebook lots of ads for Brazilian rhythm section suite, right? So you can just buy.
Really?
Yeah. So for $5, you can have all the samples of all the Brazilian beats, and of course you can manipulate them at will, make them faster, make them slower, make them bigger, make them smaller, change the sound of the triangle, whatever. It's perfect.
You have these new AI apps, right? That makes sense.
And so I was discussing with Adi, and I was saying, okay, we could just download those fucking beats, and then we plug the guitar, we record the guitar. It's all so easy because it's MIDI. You can change it, you can manipulate it, you can speed it up, you can stretch it, you can do whatever you want, and you can get the perfect result. Yeah, but then what do you miss? What you miss is like you need to find the money to get on a plane to go over there, to maybe get a couple of times scared that someone's going to steal your wallet, to maybe, you know what I mean? To talk to those guys in the street and say, hey, oi, cara, hey, you want to come to our apartment and we record you guys doing this with us, and we just, because we are musicians, but we were doing this project and we want you to come to our hotel room and play your tambourine, and we have this portable recording machine, and it's not going to be perfect, and you cannot fix it, and it's not studio conditions, and the guys are not going to be pros, and maybe the result will not be good, but what do you get? You get the
experience.
Trip. Maybe you make friend for life.
The journey.
Maybe that black guy from Copacabana.
Yeah. The human
becomes like a really good friend.
Yeah, the human connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what you're supposed to get.
Yeah. And
That's
that's what music was made for when it was created at the beginning.
voila. And so here now
it
we come
was to
full
make
circle.
people together.
Now we come full circle, right? Because I mean, you've heard me say this 1,000 times because it's part of my workshop, singer-songwriter workshop. We'll put the links down below. Um,
Yes, I will.
it's part of my. It's like the thing of like, and that's always the difficult part in my workshop because typically people come to my workshop. It's like, I want to write better songs. I want, and they are I want to be good enough to be on stage, and it's like it's just so mono track. And that's why I always insist in it in the workshops. Like, whoa, 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 whoa! What is music for? And I know that people get bored of this speech, but I always make the speech, which is music can be for funeral, can be for a marriage, can be for ritual, can be for religion, can be
For
for
politics.
journalism, can be for protest, can be for some for healing, can be for
Yeah,
medicine, can be for
right.
so many things, and then also can be for entertainment sometimes. So music can be all of these things. But what we do in our society is like we take the entertainment bit, and that's all that music is. That's all that it's for. That's the only universe of music that we consider worthwhile, you know? And as soon as, I mean, if you tell, I mean, I get this experience even now when I go somewhere, a passport control in some country. What do you do? I'm a musician. And
No, your real job.
no, actually, they actually take me. I look scummy enough that they believe me. But
Okay.
but you can see like people ticking always the same assumptions. Like the music about what is a musician.
Yeah.
It's someone who is or wants to be on a stage in front of people. Like the whole picture.
Take drugs, doing party, and it's not like that, people.
Well, that's your vision. No, but I mean, like, even in the strictest sense, even if it's a classical musician, okay? So like this
Yeah.
notion, people cannot understand music other than as an entertainment industry.
Yes,
It's an
that's true.
entertainment, and because it's an entertainment industry, the AI is going to dominate it because it's like a client based thing. It's the customer's always right. Like with any service industry, the customer's always right. And that's why I'm so happy that the music industry as we know it, as an entertainment form, you know and I don't care how many guys say, oh, I don't agree. I don't care if you agree. It's going to die. Because you know what? In 10 years, I'm not going to go and watch your band. I'm going to go and watch a hologram of Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
And it's going to look real. Okay? And that's who I'm
Yeah.
going to watch. I'm not going to watch your stupid band. Especially if
It
you're.
happened. It happened. It's not the same, but it happened already before that. I remember that there were some movie theaters who played the concerts of very
Yes,
famous
it's
bands,
already
like
happening.
live concert, and people were there
But I
all
think
together, like in
but
a
I think
live
it's going to
concert.
go through an even more interesting process where, because even when it's entertainment, or let's say a live concert, because it's so much about the client, it's so much about the consumer,
Mm.
that actually we're going to get to this point, and we can see it already happening. It still works. The teenagers, they still worship Taylor Swift or Lady Gaga or whatever, but actually the fame of the artist becomes a turnoff. And you can see this in the DJ culture. What's great about going to like a DJ festival, Ozora or a Boom Festival, something like that, is that it doesn't matter if the DJ is famous or what's the name of the DJ. What
Hmm.
matters is that you're fucking high and you're sweating and you're dancing and you're just like, you're having an experience, right?
It's the sound.
And I think
It's
that
the
music
sound.
is going to go back to that. of like, I'm not saying we're not going to see musicians on stage with big crowds anymore, but maybe those musicians will not be famous.
Yeah, but I don't think it's really bad,
because it's going to be more about, I think it's going to be more about like, wow, these guys are hitting something real.
Yeah,
they are creating an experience, like when I see guys like, guys that I played with, like Cobra,
yeah,
doing, and they do their thing. They do their thing all around town, all around Luxembourg. They bring, the dancers and everybody banging the djembes, and you can sit there with your Luxo critique, like you can have your like eyebrow, like, well, I'm a Deep Purple fan, and and you can say this is the quality is a bit amateurish. But what you're missing is that people are having fun. People are really enjoying that moment. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if Kuba is famous or not famous, an international artist or not, how many likes he has on Instagram, how many records he sold, how many people recognize him in the street. It doesn't matter because it's not about him. It's just someone is sweating and feeling good. Just feeling good.
And also with the emotional part, this is what I liked the most in the open mics. You know that. I told you so many times. What I love the most is that there comes some guy or some girl, you don't know him from anywhere, and he sits there on the piano or with his guitar, and he plays a song, and he just makes you cry, and you are like, man, this
like,
is amazing. And that's what I loved the most in the open mic. It was to discover the people that create emotion that were not famous,
You just touched the nerve there. I remember, like, for years and years, sometimes when I'd be writing a song, even as far back as I was still at university, I'd be writing a song, and sometimes it happened. I mean, I hope it happens to other songwriters too, that you get like an emotion, too much emotion, and so you start to cry, or your voice starts to shake, and because the emotion, like somehow you hit some melody or something about the vibe of the chord, something makes you very emotional when you're writing a song. And I used to think, okay, that means it's going to be a good song. Okay. And for years and years, whenever I had that experience that I'm writing a song and I get emotional in the middle of it, again, I would think the result is going to be good. It's going to be a good song because it's already given me a taste of that emotion, And what changed, it's really weird. For example, like, I cannot play Bruce Springsteen covers. I mean, I can play them, but I cannot perform them. And I think it's something about his vocal range. Something about his vocal range that when I try, it's not that it's hard, technically speaking, it's not hard for me to reach his vocal range, but it's just, I cannot do it without getting emotionally overwhelmed. Even if it's a happy song, I don't know, something about Bruce Springsteen covers for me, like it's a physical, it's a biological thing. It triggers something in my hormones that goes, But now
you just play one song of him. It's
I'm on fire.
Yes.
Yeah. I've learned to do that one without getting.
Hey, little boy, is daddy home?
But what's changed now is that I used to think when that happens, it's going to be a good song. And now when that happens, I think I've already got what I was supposed to get.
Yeah.
And this sounds harsh coming from me. I mean, I spent 25 years chasing a career. Okay, 25 years trying to be on stage, trying to get an audience, trying to, I'm not very good at keeping in touch with fans and newsletters and
I know.
but the ambition was there to be on stage, to perform, and so it kind of sounds radical and for me to say that, but I really see it, and it's not me. I'm not speaking for myself. I'm not saying for me this is happening. This is happening for everybody. It's over, but that's not a bad thing because
No,
because now you have to find a real reason to make music. A real reason to make music. You're gonna have to make music. You're gonna have to discover it again. You're gonna have to do it not because you want to sound like your favorite artist, not because
yeah,
you want a hit song, because like all the hit songs, they're gonna be taken. That guy in Sweden that writes all the hit songs, he's got a better AI application than you,
I don't know.
and they're gonna have all the hit songs. They're gonna keep all the hit songs, And I said this for years. I'm actually kind of like, it's like a guilty revenge pleasure to be able to announce it's over. Okay, it's over. Your desire to be famous is not just unlikely; it's impossible. It will no longer happen. Not in terms of like you are a great musician and it will happen that way. Because I mean, we're going to get to the point where even stuff like models, fashion models like Kate Moss or whoever they are now, AI will do it better. They're going to be prettier than the real people. Actors from Hollywood, they're going to be better than human beings acting.
There will be an animation version, like it's done already now.
And also, I mean, we can't even imagine how far this is. We could go to the cinema, you and me, sit next to each other, but the movie will be slightly different for you.
Yes.
Because in your preferences, say I don't like too much violence and so I'm watching the movie and I see the guy's brains getting blown, but you won't see that because your personal preferences, you choose not to see that, and it's already logged in your profile. So in your version, the same movie, we're watching the same movie at the same time, and in your version, it's going to be clean. You're not going to see the blood. It's going to be hinted that the guy died. People don't realize how powerful, how far, and
This is really
funny.
scary.
It's funny because people used to think, and that's how it's different from a different technological revolution. That I used to think, and I think we all used to think, that when AI comes and when the robots come, we, the artists, we're going to be the last ones standing, right? Like they're going to replace the cashier at the supermarket. They're going to replace the bus driver. They're going to replace the people in the factories, right? That's obvious. But they cannot replace human beings with human emotions, creativity. Bullshit. Actually, we are the first ones to go. We will be the first ones to be replaced.
It's already happening.
We are actually the first ones to be replaced because it's not a technological revolution that is just about mass producing convenient, faster, standardized stuff. It's an industrial revolution that is about the ultimate customization of reality. We will literally live in different worlds, you and me, because of our personal preferences that are logged into our profile, and and so good luck.
How to escape this? How to escape? I don't want to live in this technological world. For example, I want to be the most far away from this, because I don't want. You know what? Because I don't want to lose my human connection.
Well, if
the real world.
If somehow they leave people the choice. And if we are still free to say, okay, I choose not to go that way, let's not get into very negative, you're not going to have a choice. But let's say that we have a choice. Then we're already talking about it. That you have to kind of detoxify yourself. And that means also, and this is sad, I mean, it's hard to say, forget the stage.
Yeah.
Forget the lights. Forget the likes. Forget the profile. Forget the EPK. Forget selling yourself. Forget that. It's over. Stop selling yourself. It's over. If you don't want to live in that world, then the highest high that you can have is to sit on the beach with your friends around a fire and play a song that is not Ed Sheeran, okay? And then you will have a real human experience, you know? And what's beautiful is that that's so easy to get. Because that's all it takes is like, pick up your guitar, get in the car, let's go, let's drive there, woohoo. Do you have a jacket? Yes. Do you have a lighter? Let's light the fire. Boom, boom, boom. Tune the guitar. Let's have some fun. And you can have it. And that's the highest high. And I think it's beautiful that in the future, this will be the highest high that we're going to have. As far as like being human, creative, sharing unique and individual human experiences.
Because I know a lot of people who so people who still like to work like the old days, musicians, I'm talking about musicians now, and that's are not really, even young people, not only guys of our age, even young people who say, I don't know, but I'm not seduced by that, and they want to feel the real thing. And now another question that a lot of people, I talked about this with a friend of mine who actually thinks a little bit like us, and he also wants to do it the old ways. He doesn't want to use AI.
And the beautiful thing is that there's no one stopping him. No one's stopping you. Because you don't need anyone. That's the positive side. You don't need anyone. All of a sudden,
but the question we asked was, imagine how you say it will be. I believe that with the time you are right, and it will be over. So people will not earn money from going on stage and being under the lights.
But listen, but let me just interrupt and say, let's not say it will be over. Let's say this is a massive exaggeration. It's not going to be over. Let's say that it will not be over, and that we'll just carry on the way that it is. And new bands will become famous, and and people will keep promoting and their new single, and things will just carry on as they are. And I'm wrong. Let's say that I'm wrong. But even if I am wrong, the whole thing that we've just spoken about, I've just given you a recipe to actually find joy in music.
And also to find another way to do your living.
Things don't change, how much joy do you really get? You know, I can tell
the
you,
industry is rough.
When I played,
is rough.
And you were there on stage with me when I played my 30-year show.
Yeah.
There is a kind of joy in, I love sharing the stage with these special musicians and these special friends. And I'm so happy and relieved that the room is not empty. And I'm happy that this radio station and that newspaper, they talked about it, they mentioned it. And I mean, we all have an ego, and it's okay to feel some joy in having a special moment where I'm the special person for this night, for one night. I'm the special person. Everyone's here for me for tonight. It's kind of like a birthday, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a birthday and your friends come over and they sing happy birthday. You blow the candles and it was your special night. It was your special day. I'm not going to say, oh, you're a narcissistic, toxic person because you celebrated your birthday. Okay. No, I mean, everyone deserves a special moment from time to time. I'm not going to knock Tali for representing Luxembourg at the Eurovision. Everyone deserves a special day, a special moment. As long as you realize that it's special, it's not meant to be every day. It's not meant to be like tomorrow. It's somebody else's turn, somebody else's
But
birthday
even that
tomorrow.
day, even for this concert, comparing to the other concerts we did together, and during all this time I worked with you, even for this one, I didn't feel you like this. I felt you were there really happy to playing with us.
Yeah,
Really felt,
yeah, that was the
I
biggest joy.
felt you more than for you. And I felt it in the rehearsals, and I felt it also for the concert. For you, you were happy that all the people were there. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean,
You
it's
were
good
grateful. You were grateful that the public was there. But
I was
where I
relieved.
see no, you were grateful. But where I saw really the joy in you was when you looked at us, and only we were there playing together, and that's what
Yeah.
made you the most happy. And even when we were all together having a drink in the um, in the backstage, that's where I really saw the joy in you. You were happy to be there with
Yeah, because
us.
I've always been, and you know this, I've always been very
Yeah.
cynical about fans or audience or public, and I never liked all the
No.
all the sucking, all the ass kissing. I never liked to see an artist on stage kissing the ass of the public. I was always more into the Jim Morrison types. The guys that say, "Okay, you came here tonight. This is my room. I make the rules. I'm the
Yeah.
boss. If you don't like it, you can fuck off, right? This is my show." And I don't do requests, by the way, right? That's my kind of artist because that's an artist. That's someone who, like, they know what they choose what they're going to present to you. They cannot
And
just,
even for the acoustic gigs,
uh,
you were always like that. That's
and,
true.
and and I don't like it when an artist, like, I hope, like that. The worst feeling makes me cringe, and even at open mics, because that's all I see. I see them on stage, and all I see, it doesn't really matter what they're singing. All I hear is like, please like me, please like me, please like me, please like me. And that for me is like, it's just, it's not even heartbreaking. I have no respect for that. I have no respect for that. And I think an audience, like, people say, oh, so thankful for the audience. Yeah, you can share a special moment with the audience. Of course, when you feel the energy from the crowd and they're enjoying it, and you're enjoying it, and that's fine, that's great. But don't make the mistake of thinking that it's something to do with you. That's a mistake, to think that it's something to do with you, with your talent, or with, no, because you know what? Some people are really like, for example, I was a big fan of Chris Cornell,
Yeah.
right?
I
Knew his,
remember we
you know,
listened to his albums during one
you
week
know,
after he died.
when he died, I was very sad. I knew all his lyrics. And when you're a fan, you feel like you know the guy. And I was like really down, actually. I never met the guy, really down that the guy died. But you know what?
Yeah, we were.
But you know what? The next day, I'm laughing at a joke. Life goes on, life goes on.
Yeah. Like
It just
Freddie
goes,
said,
you
show
know,
must go on.
life goes on. And even when it's a family member who dies, eventually, or your dog, sooner or later, maybe it takes a year, 2 years to get over it. Maybe you never really get over it, but it goes on. Life goes on. And so I think that we should look deeper into all of these instincts. And for me, it's very disturbing to see these desires of immortality in very young people. I can understand. I can understand someone like Henry Kissinger, like 100 years old, responsible for genocides, advisor to presidents, most powerful man in the world, and there's going to be libraries named after him and statues and books in history written about him. And I can understand that someone like that might have a concern for some kind of immortality, like Julius Caesar, Napoleon, but it's very disturbing to see young people who they're not even adults yet, um, already falling into this cult of, like this name, like my name is John, and John has to become, and I think that with all the bad things that are happening in the world, and all the bad things that people say will happen in the future, there's also a lot of good, because it's kind of like a cleanup. There's a big cleanup going on. And I think, why should we wait? I was saying like, oh, it's over. Maybe it's not over. Okay. Maybe I'm full of shit and everything I said was wrong. But why wait to see, why would I buy the application and get the samba beat from a computer and do it all in my bedroom, okay, to get a good result, instead of going back to Copacabana and meeting the guy without the tooth who plays the tambourine? Like, I mean, there's no competition between those two ideas. It's a no-brainer. So, like, even if things didn't end and if things don't get worse, like, isn't it better to just let go of all that bullshit? Isn't it better to just let go of it? To just say, okay, it was just,
Yeah. But this means, and the COVID period was a perfect example for people, and people didn't get it. This means that you also have to find another way to make a living. So that's what
but that's but
I
that's not
wanted
just
to
but
say
that's not
before.
only musicians. I mean, that's
Yeah, but imagine now, like this friend of mine asked me, yes, but all the musicians now who, because here I hear a lot of music. We have a crisis here. You know how the financial situation is in Portugal. And the problem is that people don't have money to go to restaurants and to go to events and concerts and bars. So the bars, they don't call the musicians so often as last year, for example, because they don't have they don't have so much customers, so they don't get so much money to pay the cachets to the musicians. So the musicians are telling, yeah, I don't have so many jobs this year, and my friend told me, yeah, but imagine what will these people do if they don't have job anymore, if they don't get gigs anymore. And the question is, if you were a young guy and if you have a diploma and you can search for something else to do a living, but imagine now a guy like 40 years old, 50 years old, who began to play music when it worked, when he really earned money with that, and he only did that his whole life, and he cannot do anything else. He has no talent to do anything else. He has no diploma. He just knows how to play music. If this guy cannot earn his life with the only thing he knows, what will be the situation? What will be the situation for this guy? What will be the solution? What and yes, so this is a real issue, because a lot of people of our age, they started to play music very young, when it worked, and they always earned money until the COVID.
Well,
Until the COVID, they always earned money enough to do a living. After
it's
the COVID,
but
it got really difficult.
it's a paradigm shift, right? So it's the whole society that's changing. It's not just for the musicians. Like, a lot of people don't have a job anymore, or cannot apply their skill, or what they trained for is not needed anymore. It's funny. Like, they used to say, "Oh, if you work in IT, you will always have a job." Maybe now it's very hard to get a job as a programmer, because AI is doing the programs.
Yeah.
You don't need to know the coding anymore. Coding is like already becoming a skill that is not necessary. And only a few years ago, it's like, if you know how to code, you can be a millionaire. And so it's not just musicians. So it's the whole society is changing. But one thing that I know from all these years of being in music is that, again, we are so focused on a mono way of looking at things that sometimes we are missing the nuance. I can give you three examples. Musicians I know who will always make a living, because even when the bar stops paying, they will find a way to be there at the right time, in the right place, providing an experience that makes people reach into their pockets and give them money. Okay, this is a skill. You don't learn this at the conservatoire.
Yeah.
And you don't learn this 20 years touring stadium rock. But if you take a look at someone like Kubra, you take a look at someone like Fred Barreto, you take a look at someone like Kader Fahem, you take a look at someone like Ferocious Few, these guys, they could be in a jail and make money from music. Okay? Because they are very good at what they do. But not just that, they have studied people. They understand people. They understand what people want, what people need. They understand how they can change the mood and make people grateful for that moment. I mean, you've seen Fred do this. You've seen Kader do this. I've seen Kubra do this. I've seen Francisco do this. There's this kind of artist who, and this is
here in Portugal too, I saw.
And this is a skill that people don't notice this, because people are always thinking about the bright lights and the TV and the stage and fame and the famous artist and the hit song, and they forget there's all these nuances. So I think that, in a way, the lifers, the lifetimers, so like you said, people who've been playing all their lives, they've got 30 years, 40 years doing this shit. And not like me, who, like, I prefer to stay at home than to play a gig, to be honest. But these guys that I just mentioned, they would go out and play anyway. They will always, if they have 7 gigs a week, they're happy.
Yeah, because the age also plays a role. Like, if you are 50, you will not get another job in another area
but these guys,
so easily.
But
you
also,
know what I mean?
But also, these guys, they love to play. They love to play. I mean, that if you offer, I mean, I'm not going to say something bad about them, but from a business sense, I could say something bad, because they play cheaper than what they are worth, because they love to play. The most important thing, I know the most important thing for Francisco is to be sitting on that chair with his guitar case open, watching the people walking by, making a fucking lot of noise,
Mm.
and sending some special messages, and maybe one or two people understand that he's criticizing the fucking banker or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you know, like the 200 euros that the venue pays, or that's actually secondary. And so
Mm-hmm.
those artists, they will survive, they will win, and they will still make money because they're not doing it for the money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the irony. That's the irony of it. In this new time that's coming, the more you chase the money, the less you're going to be able to make money. The more you try to be special and look at me, I'm a star, the more people will turn their backs and walk away.
Yeah.
You know, and if you've really been doing it a long time and you know what you're doing, and with I cannot do this stuff that I just told you because I'm too proud. You know, sometimes I think I'm not a real musician in that sense. You know, like that. I mean, I'm not that guy who's like, I have to play. I don't care if it's for peanuts. I have to go and play. I don't
No.
have that feeling. You know, for
You
me,
are more the kind of guy, if they pay that, I go. If they don't pay that, I don't go.
yeah, because I'm living in
Yeah,
the
but
old, it's the old paradigm, and this is exactly the kind of shit that's gonna die. You know,
yeah, but
uh,
there is something you learn. I learned with you. You taught me, and I never forgot. And I always agreed with that. Is you have the value you give yourself.
in the old world, yes, I think it was
But
a correct. I think that was a correct assumption for the world that's fading now.
okay, but if you don't give value to yourself, if you yourself don't think that what you do is good and is worth it, how can the other people also
You have to, well,
find you
you
find
have to
it
be,
good?
in a way, you have to become religious or spiritual. You have to trust the universe. You have to let go
Yeah.
of this notion of value. We are very attached to this value. What is value? What is value? Is it like a collection of, as an average of opinions about you? Is that what value is? Is your own opinion about yourself? Is that what value is? Or someone's opinion about you? Is that what, we are so attached to the language of the old world, value, added value, uh, you know, uh, and I think a lot of these things are just they're just going to evaporate because they are only like mind concepts. They're just ideas in our, like fame, or it's just an idea in our head, and
Mhm.
it will just disappear like smoke in the air. It will just clear up because value, you don't eat value,
No.
right? Um, and so I think it's gonna become less important. That's what I hope. And it's gonna be more about, oh wow, Jessica's pretty nice. Yeah, I shared my sandwich with her. We were having a pretty cool conversation, and
Mhm.
uh, I don't even. It doesn't even affect me that I only ate half a sandwich. That's value because we had a nice conversation, and that conversation was the other half of the sandwich.
Mhm.
it it fed me something,
Mhm.
you know but that's not like she is valuable. No, that's just like, it's just an experience, like,
Mhm.
I think that we have to, there's a lot of bullshit that has to be gotten rid of, and we had many excuses in for many years not to do it. Why should you do it? I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But when you have no choice because the world is changing, then you can try and fight it. And then if you fight it, like, I give you an example. I hate electric cars. Okay. Um, I'm the guy who's like, no, no, petrol all the way. Fuck those ecolos, and I am that guy because fuck them. Like, because cars used to have style and they used to sound nice, and I like the smell of gasoline. Okay, so fuck off. And you're not going to save the planet with your electric cars, by the way. But I understand that this position is kind of it's a losing position, because sooner or later they will not make those cars anymore, and then even if you keep your car, your old car, and you keep fixing it, sooner or later the law is going to say, no, you cannot drive that car because it's a petrol car, or they'll say, there's no more petrol stations, you cannot buy petrol anywhere, so your car has to sit in a garage, you cannot drive it anymore. So it's like when you're facing a losing situation, I think it's best to try and see the funny side, and to do a self-own, to make fun of yourself and say, yeah, I'm that old guy who likes petrol cars, but I accept it's over. I accept it's going to be over, and it's all going to be electric cars, and sooner or later I'm going to have that moment when I'm driving an electric car, and I'm going to say to myself, actually, this is actually fucking cool. This is actually not that bad. I actually really like this one, It's like, that's the reality. So, like, to there's some things that is worth to resist in life because they're important, and some things are not worth holding on to, right? Like, for me, if you say, like, someone somewhere is committing a genocide and killing thousands of children, I don't think it's okay to say, well, you have to accept it because it's just the reality. So just, stuff like that, that's worth resisting. That's worth never getting used to it. Never get used to it. Never accept it. Even if you feel that it's hopeless, that's not something you should ever accept.
No.
But for Christ's sake, like, the fact that you cannot be famous anymore, the fact that you cannot drive a diesel car anymore, or the fact that musicians, there's some things are more important than others, I guess. That's what I'm saying. And for the rest, as long as we are good people or humans, that friend of yours who's 50 years old and he's been playing for 30 years and now he can't get a gig, and that's the only way he knows how to pay his rent, and now what is he gonna do with his life? I'll tell you what, if he's a good human being, I'm sure he is, I'm sure he can do something more. I'm sure that he can. I'm sure he can.
He will adapt. Actually,
maybe he's got a nice recipe for a tiramisu or something. You know what I mean? This.
But like you say, people have to think about something else. Like, okay, I have to have a plan B. You understand what I mean? And another thing that you teach me that I never forgot is the human being always adapts.
I don't have to. That's just a fact. I don't have to teach anyone that,
It's also when you are in survival mode, when you don't have a choice, you adapt, you find something, you find a solution, and and people will. I always, every time I meet a young guy or young girl who wants to do music and play music and launch her or his career, I always tell him, okay, follow your dream, but you have to always have a plan B. Always have a plan B. Always think about, what can I also do if the music doesn't work for living?
But what if now we're getting deep into this shit, right? But what if you don't have a plan B?
Yeah.
And and you trust, what if you just trust the universe? Isn't that a plan B?
It's a risky one, but yeah.
Like not just trust the universe, but trust the universe and don't panic.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
But this is a lot of spiritual work.
then that plan B could be something much better than what you
I
thought was your
agree.
plan B, no?
I agree with you. But if you want to do that, man, you have to work on so many blockages. Because also not because you are not you have problems, or because I'm not talking about people who have traumas and have to solve it. No, I'm talking about we live for decades
You have to
in a
let go.
society that
You have to
that
let go. Listen, like I made records for 30 years in a certain way. This record that I made in Morocco, I'm a control freak, right? You know that I'm like, it has to be the way I want it,
yeah, I know.
right? And for me, it was, I thought it was going to be really hard. It's like, Jesus, we didn't prepare, we didn't rehearse, the songs are not ready. We're going to go into the studio, I'm paying for the shit, like, and,
Well,
and to,
for you
and,
it was like walking in the jungle.
you know, and to not be there, not thinking like, okay, we have one song in the bag. I really wanted to get 6 songs out of this session. Yeah, there's
You
so
had to
many
let
things
it
that
go.
you have to let go. You have to
Yeah,
let go.
you have
Otherwise,
to
you're not
let
going to
it go.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I don't know why I was able to let go. I was surprised with myself because I usually am, how I am. I'm a dictator with the music and it has to be this.
Yes.
And because and I think the secret for me was really like what I told Paul, like forget the result. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's good in the end. Just enjoy. You don't know if you're ever going to come back to this country, if you're ever going to meet these musicians again, if you're ever going to have an opportunity to play with them again. Why would you spend, maybe this is your last time playing with them, why would you spend that time correcting them, telling them to play different and to,
Mm-hmm.
like you only get blockages, and you say you have to work on yourself, and because you're worried about the result, right?
Yeah, people panic.
Yeah, you panic about the result because it's like, how am I going to pay my rent, right?
Yeah.
And then if that's your focus, you're going to miss every opportunity that comes your way, right?
Yeah, but what I wanted to say is also that it's also something educational. You were educated like that. Imagine you
Of
were
course.
educated with parents who always told you, you have to have a job. If you don't have a job, your life will be miserable. You will
I
lose
think
everything. You understand what I mean? So when you are a child and you grow up with people and the whole society telling you, you have to. So you have to remodel all your thinking. You have to forget everything people told you, everything you learned, all the education you had, and
you know
it's fucking hard. And
sometimes I think
there
it's
are people who are ready to do that, but there are people they don't know how to get along with this.
sometimes I think it's a shame that born again Christians become Christians. That they could just be born again. You know,
Yeah.
but like born again, just like to follow that religion. Okay, uh, but I think that that's actually the thing. Like the whole concept of that's the value of it. Like in America, in Tulsa, I learned a lot of stuff from Rocky Frisco. As you know,
Mm.
and we used to have this conversation. And he would just blow me away with stuff that he would say. Like the whole thing about born again Christians. Like I met a very famous born again Christian, Wanda Jackson. Wanda Jackson was the girlfriend of Elvis Presley, and they called her the female Elvis, right? She was this rockabilly, the queen of rockabilly. I
He
met
had
the
the voice too.
Yeah, I interviewed her at Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa in
Great.
2008. Yes, and she was already very old, but she was still. It was after her show, so I watched her show, and she was a born again Christian because at some point in her life she stopped drinking and she stopped all the rock and roll life, and she found Jesus and she gave her life to Jesus. Okay, I'm not gonna make fun of that, because I feel that this concept is an important one for us nowadays, and that's not to
It's a
promote.
very important topic for me at the moment.
It's not
So,
about that particular religion, being
yeah,
born, born again Christian, but just being born again.
spiritually
You,
spoken.
you, you could be born again atheist, but born again, which
Hmm.
means like uh, some fights are worth fighting, some fights are not worth fighting.
Hmm.
Um, and I think you have to be very aware that you're gonna die, because that takes away the pressure. When at least with me, if I think like maybe I'm not here tomorrow, then it gives me a certain peace of mind to say, okay, so let me read that book with my kid, instead of like, oh, fuck, I have to read the book with a kid. I wanted to go and watch a YouTube video, but I still have to put him to bed. I have no time for myself. But you could be dead tomorrow. And if you're dead tomorrow, you're going to wish that you had a nice time reading with your kid. You're not going to miss that YouTube video. You're going to miss, if you have a regret, is that you didn't read the book, So that's what I mean. Like you can be born again every day, by just remembering death. And for me, that's a very, I mean, like I'm one of those tortured souls for 25 years trying to make it, in the music
Mm.
industry. Like trying to make it, this concept of trying to make it. I think sometimes people get me wrong because it seems like I'm always putting the young people down, right? The young people who come to the Grand Club, I'm putting them down and I'm shitting on their dreams. But actually, I don't want them to go through what I went through, because you have to be pretty strong mentally to accept the self-doubt, the lack of self-esteem, the feeling that everyone else from your school is getting ahead and you are the poorest guy from your class because you chose to be a musician. Everyone else has got an apartment, but you're still sleeping on your friend's couch. You're living like a student and you're 35 years old because you don't want to quit music, etc., etc., etc. You do your best, and the guy from the record label, he didn't even listen to your demo. He just threw it in the trash because you're not playing what's hip. The crowd didn't get what you were trying to do. They didn't understand you. They disrespected you. You don't get respect from anyone. Nobody thinks you're great. You don't even think you're great. But you have this dream. I want to make it, right? And then the ones who do make it, they glorify this experience. Oh, isn't it great to go through that? And in the end, I'm the singer from Kiss. It's like, yeah, but most guys, they don't make it.
Yeah. And it's okay.
It's finding the okay place, because most guys who do make it don't find the okay place. That's the
Yeah.
other irony.
I know so many people like
The
that.
guys who do make it, it's like somebody asked me this. I think it was actually Christina, Latina. Last time I was there, she's a bit like you. She lets me talk. And I was telling her,
I love her. Christina, a big hug for
you
you.
know the whole story with Coldplay. They signed Coldplay instead of my band. We were from the same
Yes, I
university,
know this story. That's
and
one of
and
the
I
reasons I hate them.
and I was very bitter about. I still don't think they're any better, but I was very bitter about it for a long time. But you know what? This guy, the singer from Coldplay, I forget his name.
I don't know either.
The other day, I saw a video of him talking about his depression, and he married a top Gwyneth Paltrow. She's what, an actress, or he has children with a superstar, and I'm sure he's a multimillionaire. All of these things, and I'm not happy that he goes through depression, not at all. But that's the fucking reality, like
Yeah.
the whole making it. The whole making it is
Yeah.
is,
They
is
have the fans, they have the cars, they have the houses, they have the success, but
a lot
it's
of them.
something
A lot.
empty inside of them. I met some people here in Portugal, very famous. Uh, and the most famous people I met, that's when I also said, no, I don't want to be famous. Like, I love to do music, I love to sing, I love to do this podcast, but I don't want to be empty, because the most famous people I met, when I looked into their eyes, there was something missing.
Well, look, I mean, life is an experience, and we all have an experience, and that doesn't mean that if you don't make it, you're going to be happy.
Yeah, of
Okay,
course.
that doesn't mean like, oh, I didn't make it, so so my life is going to be great. Uh, but I'm just saying that.
But doing something for love, and not
Well,
with
I
this
mean,
ambition to,
doing
oh,
something
I want
that's
to have it all.
but that's so confusing. That's very confusing. Doing something for love, because do you love, when I all 25 years trying to make it, did I love? Yes, I did love it. I did love making the music, and I would go to bed and the music's going around, and you're writing songs with your eyes closed in bed, and you're dreaming of that chord or the studio session, or so there was a passion. I mean, I don't want to discount passion and love for the craft and stuff like that, but you're gonna die. I mean, the main part is that you're gonna die.
If you're
I'm actually,
famous or
I'm,
not.
I'm reading this at the moment, right, in Portuguese actually,
From Marco Aurelio.
and it's like, it's so wonderful sometimes. Some of these little catchphrases,
Yeah.
like he describes how when you die, people will forget about you.
Yeah.
And those who will remember you, they will die, and then you'll be forgotten. And even if you were very famous, like Julius Caesar, sooner or later he will be forgotten too.
Yeah.
And what benefit does he get from being famous? Like, do you think that Napoleon is sitting up on a cloud thinking, oh, they still say my name, they still teach me at
We don't know.
school, they still
He's
teach me at
laughing.
school?
He's laughing hard, like,
They
they
still
told I was a tyrant. Look
they
at them.
they still have my statue in the, it's
Yeah.
we live in such ridiculousness, and unfortunately our society and our culture is not very helpful in making us a bit healthier in our minds. They don't help because it makes them money. It makes, for us to suffer from all these things, it makes money for someone.
Yeah, that's the part where I told you that this we were educated like that the society molded us like that.
Mm.
The
Mm.
society, the system did everything and do everything they can to mold the people to believe that you have to
Yeah.
have the value, that you, if you don't have a job, you will be miserable, that you have to work hard, but you also can have this very expensive iPhone. If you don't have it, you will not be in. So it's a very sick and
Yeah,
uh,
it's
and uh, um and uh I forget the word now.
toxic,
It's a
sick.
very sick word. Not psychopath, but bipolar. It's a very
Oh yeah,
sick
yeah,
and bipolar
yeah.
world, because they tell you you have to work and you have to have a good job and you have to be the best. And even, the multinationals, these very famous brands, when you work in there, it's so competitive. It's like if you have the result, you will have the prize, and
But
if you are the best of your team, they mold the people. And these people are not used to think, I have to trust the universe and let it go,
yeah, but
because they don't want us to think like that.
whenever someone offers a solution, and there's many different possibilities of solutions, they make sure that that's evil.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for example, like the good society, the modern society, the progressive society, um, is, of course, must be, by definition, an atheist society, because we trust the science, because religion is superstition and is used by people to manipulate people into doing bad things. But I tell you what, when I'm in Morocco, many times, it's more than 5 times a day, I can tell you, more than 5 times a day, everything stops, and you hear the Allah Akbar, which actually means God is great. We think it means like we want to kill ourselves and kill innocent people, But anyway, they do this stuff
So
many
sad.
times a day, and it starts. I think the first time is like around 4 o'clock in the morning. It starts, and it's funny. Like, even when we were rehearsing, we'd be playing, and then if it starts, we would just stop playing, just for a minute, just out of respect, And I don't speak Arab. I don't understand what is being said. I've never read the Quran. I don't know what is the message that is being spoken.
Apparently, it's very peaceful.
And I remember, like, Ahmad, the percussionist, we were sharing the hotel room, and I'd just be sitting in bed watching YouTube videos, and he would get his rug and start praying on the floor, and because it was prayer time or whatever. And because I don't understand the message and I don't want to get into that. I see it more as a cultural phenomenon. But what happens is that whenever that happens, I have my own little thing that I do, because out of respect, I'm not going to be playing a guitar when you can hear the prayer echoing around.
Of course.
And I'm not going to light a cigarette when you can hear the prayer echoing around. Certain things. It's not even. Nobody told me this. Is my idea of being respectful, right? Nobody said,
it's a respect.
Nobody told me you cannot smoke when, nobody told me this. It's just, but also for me, it's very interesting that because it happens every couple of hours, and for me, it's a good moment to say, okay, let go of it doesn't matter the result of the recording. It doesn't matter, just enjoy the process of being here and doing this, or don't forget, you're going to die, But just the fact that several times a day you get these, whatever you choose, that is the reminder that you want to give yourself about something, and you can feel that it does break. It breaks this hypnotic bipolar thing about the iPhone, and it kind of breaks that, and so of course it's evil.
Of course. And but you see, even like that, I never saw so many people like now connecting to God again and to the spirituality. I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking about faith.
Yeah, well,
and because I think because people are also, some people are feeling like, I don't want to lose, I don't want to give myself to this new technology completely. I want to keep something real. I want to keep, and I talk for me. I had to discover something with my health, unfortunately, to change my whole, to think about how I was living my life, the things I was doing, the things I was always worried about, and to say no. Um, if I want to live longer, if I want to at least live the rest of the days I have the best I can, I will change. I will connect to my faith again, and I will change some habits I have, and I will respect my body and myself better, because we are so worried about the money and the other people, and how I and to and we are so worried, what you said, I have to make it, I have to make it, that we forget our body completely. We disrespect our body. We don't sleep, we eat bad, we don't give importance to the little things, to the sun, to the nature. You and when you have a wake up, I when I had a wake up, instead of being angry and revolted, I thought, no, wait a minute. What am I doing to to be sick now? How am I living my life? And I analyzed everything I was doing. I was not sleeping well. I was eating bad. I was not giving value to the little things. I was too worried about the money. I was too worried about my family. I was too worried about so many, to please the others, to not make the others angry. I was worried also about my physical body, like I am too fat, I don't fit in the society, and all these things are just gone. It's like, I don't care what people think. I don't care if people make fun of me. I don't care if people make fun if I love God and I believe in Jesus, and if I do my pray every day. I don't care if I people laugh at me because I don't drink alcohol anymore, because I don't smoke anymore. I don't care if people find that I'm beautiful or ugly or short or fat, or I don't give a, I'm sorry about the word, I don't give a fuck about this.
So how is that for a plan B?
And I am living again.
Yeah, that's a plan B.
I am living again. And I just, you know what I do now? I celebrate life every day. It's every day I wake up, I say thank you for being alive. I go to the sun and I enjoy the sun. I just enjoy to feel the breathe in my skin, and I put my bikini, I go to the beach. I don't care if people don't like my legs. I don't care about this anymore. It's like I just want to live, and I just want to live the moment, feel good. Yes, I still have to have a job to pay my my bills. I have no choice about this. So, but I trust the universe. It's like, what has to be, the universe knows what is good for me and has everything good orchestrated. And if I respect myself and my body, and if I do everything I can to be healthy, things will flow. What how can we expect that the universe conspires for us
But
if
again,
we make ourselves sick? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
but again, it's important not to focus on the result. Because
Yeah.
imagine that you find, you connect with your faith, and you live a healthy lifestyle, and you do all these things, and then tomorrow a bus runs you over, and you die in an accident, you know. It's important to know that the time
I
that
did
you
everything I could.
no, the time that you were healthy and that you enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Not because you think it's going to save your life in the future, but
yeah,
because right now you feel better this way than the other way, you know. That was a phrase from Tom Skinner. He was a funny guy. And sometimes I think we overthink so much. He had a phrase that he used to deliver. Sometimes it was, you know, he told me, you know, Lara, everywhere I go, there I am. Life can be simple, you know.
yeah, yeah. Tom Skinner, by the way,
Yeah.
he is the author of the Grund Club.
The
So
classic Crystal, yeah.
yeah, the Grund Club song that for us it was like an anthem. It's
Hmm.
like you said, an anthem.
Yeah, that's, yeah,
The crystal.
yeah.
I changed the chords. I don't play it in the same key as you guys,
Hmm.
but I learned to play the song actually
That's
to
great.
play it in open mics. So,
That's great. It
yeah.
would be great, you know. It would be great to see to have Gene over again, you know, sometime.
Yeah.
Gene Williams, you know.
He was, and you see, he was this guy so zen,
Hmm.
so he just profited of the moment, and he when you listened at him, he sounded so wise,
Well, he's got a
so
lot of
relaxed.
he's got a lot of Indian, you know, Native American blood, you know, this guy.
Yeah,
And he did the whole, you know, the Sundance and the rituals and all of that stuff. So he's got a lot
yeah,
of that. I don't know if it's Cherokee or Navajo or whatever, but he's got a lot of that Native American wisdom in him, you know, which is
yeah.
great.
And and he's so used to do festivals and play in the whole world, and he doesn't care if it's a 5 stars hotel or just a little room. For him, he just wants to play his music
Well,
to
I
feel.
tell you what, you know, like in terms of it's funny, like in terms of music and in terms of religion and in terms of sincerity, you know, some people find this very strange, but I see a real connection, a real parallel between Oklahoma and Morocco. Because already, I mean, like the way that they play guitar sometimes reminds me of JJ Cale. That's for a start, you know. Forget the rhythm and the language and all of that, but just like the fluidity and the tone and the phrasing of the electric guitar, I feel a connection there. You know, it's got that slightly Mark Knopfler
Hmm.
vibe. You know, but also I see a big connection in the attitude of people. You know,
Yeah,
and it's funny that uh, my good friends from the Red Dirt scene in Oklahoma, they are sincerely Christian, not as a label. I mean, you met Gene Williams, right? So you know what I'm trying to say. That for them, their friends are the most important thing in this world. They
yeah,
they love their friends like they love their mother or father or son or daughter. They when they call each other brother, it's not just hey bro. It's like I would die for you. Okay, they have this very sincere bond, very sincere faith in the goodness of God. That
hmm,
somewhere there's a positive entity they have the humility of faith, the humility to say, I'm small.
Yeah.
I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. Let me try and be a little less arrogant. There's something bigger than me. Let's call it God,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel at home with my brothers and sisters. I think that they all have this common belief in. It's not about the denomination.
Yeah.
Is,
It's
is it
not about
is it like
just religion. It's the faith.
Presbyterian, or is it Protestant, or is it Catholic, or is it?
No, no.
It's
Yeah,
not the
it's the
label.
faith.
It's just a faith that is based primarily on, I love the people that I come across in my life, and I try to honor that.
Yeah.
I try to honor that love, and I try not to mess it up. I try not to allow the bad vibes in. Okay?
Exactly.
So it's very sincere and very simple, and you don't even have to know how to read or write.
Yeah.
But it's extremely hard in modern world to have that kind of sincerity about, because some son of a bitch is going to steal your wallet or your phone, and then your phone rings and it's some guy scamming you. He already took 50 euros from you just because you answered the phone, and and you're stuck in traffic, and some motherfucker cut you off, and the world is, from the moment you wake up, the world is like provoking you to amplify the bad vibes, or to the point that we don't even think that this is possible.
Even
We,
the
we don't,
television, if you put
like
the
if you
television, they
if you describe Gene Williams to someone, most
yeah.
people will say, that's a cute caricature, but no one is really like that, right? No one can be that sincere and that pure, and right, because we are cynical, because we need our need to survive. We need to survive, and so the survival attitude is like, yeah, right. Sure, he loves everyone. Sure, he would die for his friends, right? Because we know that in our society, we wouldn't fucking die for anyone. Okay? That's the values they instill in us.
But you
Uh,
you know that here in Portugal we used to be also like that,
but to
and
go
in
back
some
to,
villages we are.
well,
Some,
Mario Kaneski yesterday, he told me the reason that I love Morocco is because it reminds me of Italy in the 1960s. We used to be like.
yeah, yeah.
But so to go back, the parallel, not just with the music, but with the people in
Mm,
Morocco, I can tell you it's exactly the same thing,
mm,
except they're Muslim.
yeah,
It's Allah. It's not.
yeah. It's not a
It's
question
not the
of
cross.
religion,
It's not Jesus Christ. It's a different football
faith.
club,
Yeah.
you know. But what's important is always show respect. Always, it's that the golden rule. It's just that golden rule: do to others as you would like them to do to
Yeah,
you. Treat others the way you want to be. So simple,
yeah.
and
Don't
yet,
judge.
and they're very sincere. They really like. Does that mean that they're incapable of lying, or they're incapable of cheating? Or, of course not. Especially like, because then there's other cultural factors. The desert, like the culture of trading. They're trading. They come from a trading history. It's all about
Mm,
trade. I got the camel. I got a rug. They're trading. Oklahoma's are farmers. So of course there are differences in the definitions of what it is to play it straight, what it is to negotiate, or to what is a white lie, what is cheating. The definitions are different. Okay, and that's why I see a lot of Western people. They go to Morocco and they get it wrong. They think, oh, they're all trying to cheat me. And I say, yes, but You're in a different reality, you know? And somehow the guy who's trying to cheat you, he would also give you his bed to sleep at night. If you can't find a hotel room, he will invite you to his house and he will share with you his last tagine or couscous, you know? So I see this parallel in the music, in the humanity, and in the faith, that also there's this humility that is so liberating, actually. You know, I wish I was religious. I'm not, but I really wish I was, because I can see that it's so liberating, that this idea of like, I don't know everything. I'm small. I'm small. There's something much bigger, you know?
Like I said, it's not a question of religion. I'm not religious because I always say religions was something that was created by man, and often it separates more people than it makes people together. It's the faith.
No, but you
Faith
know,
and religion is two different things. I believe in Jesus. I believe
but
in God. I
but
believe in
everything
the
was created.
universe.
But I
But
think I believe that everything was created by man. I believe God was created by man. Okay,
yeah, but
but
I believe that there is something spiritual, and
but
I really believe in
no,
Jesus and his
but then
teachings. But
we
I
get
don't
lost with
follow any
names.
religion. You understand what I mean? I don't say I'm Catholic, or I'm Buddhist, or I'm here. No, I don't follow any religion. I just follow what I feel, the love I feel.
Well, but you know, there's a
You know?
point, but I think that there's a purpose to religious. I think that it's also a very modern thing to say, when people say, "I'm not religious, I'm spiritual," because as if like spiritual is the real thing, and religion is just the folklore that men created to manipulate each other. And I actually I don't agree with that. You know, I think that religion is a little bit like that. There's a reason for religion. Religion is kind of the trial and error of thousands of years. You know, that's the advantage you have with religion, right? If you're not religious, but you are spiritual, then you're just alone. Like it's like the world started the day you were born. And so the lessons that you have to learn is only that time. Because you're not religious, you're not going to accept the lessons from other people who lived before you, right? So
Yeah.
so it's certain things like I do it how I feel it. Okay, I'm spiritual, but I do it like how I feel it. I live in Egypt. I love pork sausages. Okay, I love pork. I'm gonna eat pork. I don't need some religion to tell me what to do. I'm gonna eat pork. Right?
No,
You
but
eat
this
the
is a lack of respect if you live
no, no,
in a
wait,
place
wait.
where
You eat the
they don't do
pork,
it.
you get sick.
Yeah.
Because pork, if you don't do it right, if you
Yes.
don't have a freezer, and if you don't have like the Portuguese, a box full of salt to really make sure that the thing is cured properly,
Yeah.
pork can kill you.
Yes.
If you eat pork that's not good, it can kill you. And so,
Yeah.
and when people cannot read or write, which is the reality of the last 2,000 years, you know, it's only in the last 100 years that people, even in Europe, people are like, oh,
Mm.
you know, like most people can read. But when you cannot read or write, when people cannot read and write, is it easier to say, look, if you eat pork, you could get unlucky, you could be unlucky, or your child could be unlucky, and you could die from it.
Yes.
Okay? And then you get all the smart asses who are very spiritual saying, I don't care. I don't like anyone telling me what to do. Okay? Or you could say it's easier. Or are they going to say, says who? You say that? Are you an expert? Why should I believe what you're saying to me? And that's where religion steps in.
Mm.
It says here in the holy book Don't eat the fucking pork. Ah, okay.
Okay, yes,
You
but
know?
like, yeah,
So
so
that's
there's a reason why they wrote, yeah, but you know what?
but
I started to, when I say I don't follow a religion, it's because I think that in every religion is something right and something that I don't believe so much, or I don't, but you know what I mean? I don't want to have to choose one religion or another, but I I love
can have
Jesus
like a
because,
we can have like a spiritual tapas
no, but
thing,
I
you know?
love Jesus because I really like his teachings. Because when I listen to, or when I read his teachings, it fits with with my beliefs. I say, yeah, I
Yeah.
feel that it's right for, it sounds right for
I mean,
me.
I
You
tell you what,
understand
you
what I
know.
mean? But what I also noticed, with all these things also that we discovered, these sicknesses and so, and and yes, of course, I also noticed that some things that are written in the religious books, whatever book it is because at that time when people wrote that, it had a meaning for them. Like this with the pork, like you said, they saw that if people eat pork, they can get sick. And they knew the people who read the most famous book, or the book they read the most, or they believe the most, is this one. So we will put this information.
Yeah,
They had no newspaper, you
yeah.
know what I mean?
But you know, but maybe even the scientists from that time,
Yeah.
they would say, "Oh, it's a curse.
Yeah.
Pork is cursed." You know.
So to convince
Uh,
people to not touch it.
so actually, it doesn't really matter. So it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
the why. You know, like this is our society is so twisted. Everything is so inverted because it doesn't really matter. The important thing is that you do the right thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you believe that the pork is cursed, if the pork is the work of the devil, or if you believe that it's the bacteria growing in there in the sunshine and
Mm.
the science proves that the bacteria is harmful. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is don't fucking eat it
Yeah.
in a hot
Because
country
it
like
makes you
this,
sick.
okay?
Yeah.
And but we in our society, we are so smart. And I remember like having corporate meetings with people that you know, and they tell me like, you know, for me, the important thing is to find the why. You have to find your why. Once you know your why, that's the key. That's the key to all the motivation, and then you can have your project. Find your why. And it's like, fuck your why. Just be a good person.
Yeah.
Just be a good person. You don't need a why. Like, oh, I'm going to be kind. Why?
Because it's normal.
You know,
It's like
find your why.
human.
Because instantly, it's like, because then it's the same as saying like, what do I get out of this? You know,
Yeah.
and like our whole culture is just so interested, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
um
yeah. Of
even
course.
like this is like one of the differences that I see because my father is from Trás-os-Montes, right? And he tells me, and he went to the seminar. He was taught in a seminar when he was a kid, you know, so he could have been a priest, you know.
Really, he did theology.
And sorry.
He did theology.
Oh yeah, I mean he was there from the age of 10, like, you know,
Okay.
in Braganza, you know, and then when you, I mean, everyone in Portugal knows the stories about the church, the priest in the village, and the confession on Sunday, and then he washes your, you know, you say 10 Hail Marys, and then you know you can go and cheat on your wife again, and you know, uh, you know, there's something very transactional about our way, our Western way.
Yeah.
There's always, it's always about, yeah, you're always trading, you know. Okay, so if I say 10 100 Hail Marys, then I can do the same shit again. I can cheat again next week, and then I tell the priest, and then at the same time, the stories. The priest knows everyone's secrets, and that's what makes him powerful, right? Because
they can chant, they can.
They can point you out in the middle of the whole village and say, you are the one who stole the apples, you know, and that's incredibly powerful to be in that position.
Yeah.
And
he can also do chantaging. How you do say?
Yeah, blackmail. Yeah.
Yeah, he can also blackmail people. And I know that a lot of people say that during the dictatorship,
but we are very locked
also
into this. Very locked into this. This is another difference that I see in terms of sincerity. When we talk about sincerity, for example, like even myself, and I know my mom, and I know other people who are not religious, like if something, like it could be something simple, like my wife is bringing my kids home in her car. They are 1 hour late and she's not answering the phone. You start, oh my God, was there an accident? Was there a problem? Was there and if you wait long enough, another 20 minutes, another half an hour, no news, sooner or later, you're going to be like, please, God, please, 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 please.
Yes.
Right? So
right.
It's like, I find that a little bit disturbing that for us in our culture, he exists so that we can ask for stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's for us to ask first. It's like Santa Claus, like God is kind of like Santa Claus. Please bring me this. Please bring me health. Please heal my son. Please. I'm not mocking it because I have that instinct too. But if you're going to do that in times of trouble, why don't you also say, oh, my wife arrived. She's on time. There was no delay. The children are fine.
Thank you,
Thank you, God.
Yes.
Why is it only when you're in trouble and you need something?
Yes.
That you remember that, maybe this guy can help me.
And if God doesn't give you what you ask for, imagine now there was really an accident, instead of keeping the faith for him, you blame him. You will revolt against him.
But that's why I don't like theological conversations, because I think people really miss when they say like, if there was a God, how would he allow children to die? And like,
how are we?
I don't like those kind of conversations because you're completely missing the point.
Yeah. We are not nobody to judge
God.
God.
You're not thinking about a God. You're thinking about a Santa Claus. That's a different thing. Most people think about God as a Santa Claus, someone who's there to fulfill people's dreams and expectations, to spare them from suffering and pain, and to protect them from life itself, And I see a big difference. And then when we see that other religion, which I think is very sincere religion, that scares us. That scares us because it's like, well, you're not getting anything from him. You're not asking for shit, and you're not getting shit. He's not Santa Claus. He's not going to bring you presents, and
sometimes he brings
that's not his
brings
job.
Me lessons.
And they say no. It's my job to accept whatever he gives, and if it's pain, I accept it. Who the fuck am I to say? Like we say to children, I cooked this dinner, and who the fuck are you to say you don't like this dinner? You're gonna eat this soup because I made this soup for you, and you're gonna eat it, right? That's more their version of God. That it's like he's not like some Santa Claus to ask for shit. It's like he's the maker of all of this shit.
Yeah, and he sends us lessons.
Yeah,
like really, I am grateful that I discovered this issue with me, because
It's
other
like,
this made me change my life to for
but
better. I feel
I
better now.
respect that more. I respect that. There's something I still fall into this mistake every time. I mean, I go to Morocco a lot, you know, and
Mm.
every time you say anything about the future, right? Like, could be the simplest thing, like, okay, so I'm gonna go and pick up Paul from the airport. I'll be back around 8 o'clock. I'll see you at 8. They will always say, yeah, see you at 8, inshallah.
Yeah,
Like, they
if
never
God wants
forget.
it.
They never forget. They never forget anything about the future.
Yeah,
They never forget that only
if
if
God wants.
if if he's okay with it.
Yes.
You know, like, and so, but in the West, we're like, oh, you know, if God allows a child to have leukemia, then he's a bastard. You know, it's like, you really got the wrong end of the stick in this whole thing, right? I mean, you're thinking about a doctor, maybe. You're
Yeah.
thinking about an incompetent doctor, or you're thinking about a lazy Santa Claus,
Yeah.
you know.
But yeah,
Uh,
I had an argument with a bass player from here from Portugal who blocked me because there is here is a politician, you know, nobody likes, everybody says he's a fascist, and I don't care if the guy is a good guy or a bad guy. It's not the point. The point is that I saw people saying, "Yeah, now he says they wanted to kill him, and why does he leave? Why didn't because he got sick during the elections?" And I saw people saying, "Yeah, he should be dead by now." And I was so shocked. I was not shocked because I'm not taking his party. I don't care about. I didn't vote for. I didn't vote for anybody. I didn't vote for anybody because nobody fit my ideology. And but I was so shocked to see, like, and I wrote. I see so many. I see so much hate and so much revolt that I'm not surprised that people tried to kill him, because, like you said, so many people want to see him dead, and
yeah,
I was like, he shoot me like with a Kalashnikov, saying, "Yeah, you are defending him. He's a fascist." And I told him, "No, I'm not defending anyone. I'm just saying that it's not because you don't have the same ideas as a human being. Whoever the human being is, we don't wish death for anyone.
no,
Only God
well,
decides who has to die or not."
you
And
know,
because I said that,
the fact that
I
we
was blocked.
we have become people behind the keyboard, right? And when you are behind your phone and you're not face to face, you're we become different people, and so our opinions are just unleashed in this way. I don't like the president of France. He should be dead. You know, it's easy to say. It's easy to say it, and it's easy to say it with conviction. But, like, if you had a drink with the guy, even if he is all of those bad things, maybe you'd be more like, okay, the guy should be fired. Okay,
Yeah,
right?
fired, but not
You
dead.
know, exactly,
You
because
don't wish death to
the human
anybody.
thing. But people are full of shit. Like, there's this thing. I find it hilarious, but I'm quite a dark person. Like, I take pleasure from things I shouldn't. Like, nowadays in Lisbon, because I see in the news in Lisbon is full of Indians, right? Lisbon is full of Indians. If you walk, and I've seen the videos. It is actually quite terrifying when you see the videos, and it's like these old traditional Lisbon streets with hundreds and hundreds of, like, Indian guys who don't speak Portuguese, and, like, how the hell did they get there? And I mean, and I understand all of. I'm not interested in the arguments, because I understand the arguments of they should go home, and They cannot adapt to our culture, and I can understand all of the I mean, I'm a big fan of Orban, for Christ's sake, so it's not like I don't understand the anti-immigration vote, but what I find delicious. I remember I was saying to Kinga the other day, remember the last time we were with Jessica in Lisbon 2-3 years ago, and we walked around, and the Lisbon massive, like the hipster Lisbon, trendy Berlin, Barcelona, we are a modern progressive town. They were so proud of their tuk-tuks, weren't they? They were so proud.
Yes.
Oh, we have tuk-tuks. Oh, it's so cool. It's so hipster. It's so now. It's so happening. By the way, 40 euros to take you from Chiado to Graça. Remember?
Yes, I
And I said,
remember.
no, thanks. Stick your tuk-tuk up your ass, my friend, And I don't want a latte macchiato lactose free with my tuk-tuk ride, And this to me is delicious. When I see this selectiveness of like, no, we'll take the Indian tuk-tuk. It will make Lisbon seem so cool, so trendy, so fashionable. Oh, tuk-tuk. But now you get the real Indians. And it's like, oh my God, what are they doing here? We just wanted the tuk-tuks and maybe the restaurants, but not the actual people, It's like, so I have very little compassion for all of those kind of societal things, it's all that thing of like, remember when the war broke out with in the Ukraine, and the people in the news were saying, because there was Ukrainian refugees escaping from the war, and the guy on CNN saying, but these people look like us. Right?
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, if they were Syrians or Palestinians or Sudanese, it's like, yeah, well, what do you expect? That's what they do, right? They die. That's their job in this world, right? To die, to be massacred, to drown in the Mediterranean, trying to make it here, like no big deal. But these people, they're white. They have blue eyes. They look like us. Oh my God, how can that be? And so when you take these examples, like, I don't really give, like, people who get really offended about immigration or about this or that, like these little bickering political arguments, like the whole world is falling apart, and people are like, oh, you voted for that guy, don't you know he cheated on his wife, and the other guy, he's corrupt. Oh, but the other guy is corrupt too. And like, and you're wasting your life with this, and for me, it's like, I don't want to waste my life with this.
Yeah, but what makes me really sad is whatever the side
What
is.
goes around comes around.
I'm not talking about the lefties or the rights or the Democrats or the central people. I'm just talking about the hate, the hate speech, the revolt, and if you don't follow the political correct people, whatever political correct means, you are like,
well,
you are treated like a fascist, just because I said we don't wish that to anyone.
But it
doesn't mean who it is.
But you said it was bipolar, right? You said it before. Like, we have this bipolar thing going on. And society has this bipolar thing. And the problem is with this bipolar thing is that even if you start in the middle, oh, I'm a reasonable guy, I can listen to the good points on this side and this side. I agree with you on this, but I agree with you on this. If you start in the middle, because there is a lack of politeness, because of the hate, because of the rudeness, the aggressiveness, the vibe, the bad vibes that are going around, even if you start in the middle, pretty soon you're gonna, Because
Yeah.
I feel that because for example, I started saying when it started, I'm like, yeah, Trump is an idiot, which he clearly is. He clearly is an idiot. But then the more I saw the hate, the hypocrisy, the sheepiness, like the political correctness, the double standard, all of that stuff from the other side. Pretty soon you get to a point where when you hear the news like Trump won, and you go, he did, and you're kind of like, not because you like him, but just
Yes.
because they're such idiots that they actually deserve it. You deserve that. You deserve to lose. Everyone deserves to lose. We are in an environment where everyone deserves to lose. The left, the right, everyone is acting like idiots. Everyone's being an idiot. Everyone's being hateful. And actually, the only pleasure that's left is to watch them lose. It's a bit like this football thing in Portugal, where some people say, oh, when the Portuguese team is playing in Europe, I always support the Portuguese team, right? But there's many guys from Porto or from Benfica who say like, no, if Porto is playing against Atletico Madrid, I'm supporting Atletico Madrid. I'm always, and some people say I'm happier when they lose than when we win. And this is where the world is. Like, we are getting to the place where we are happier to see the people we don't like lose. It's more important that they lose than for us to win. And look at how they do this blocage in the election every time. It's exactly what it is. It's like, you cannot vote for who you want. It's more important that Le Pen doesn't win. It's more important that Trump doesn't win. It's more important that the evil guy doesn't win. And that's how you should use your vote, to make those guys lose. Doesn't matter what you want. Oh, but I like this guy. I like his ideas. I really like what he stands for. Yeah, but he has no chance to win. So you are wasting your vote. You have to use your vote to block Le Pen.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you want.
The French guys tell it le castor.
And so, and if we go along with it, it's like, it's the same as if some guy tells you, like, if some guy
this is part of the plan, because Machiavelli already said, divide to better control. So the point is to make people. It was also the same team with the vaccination stuff during the COVID. How many people, how many families had arguments and don't speak with each other anymore, because the plan is to divide the people. The plan is that people are more and more alone, because if you are alone, you are fragile and you are more manipulable. And they know that if people stick together, if there is love, if there is understanding, they cannot pass through it. Their plan will not work. Their plan will not work, and it's very, I'm sorry to say that it's very satanic. Their plan will not work if people stick together and love each other and live just with love and connected to the nature.
But love doesn't pay the bills. And like Beyonce said, I don't want no scrubs.
No, that was not Beyonce. It was TLC.
She wasn't in. Well,
no, she was a Destiny's Child.
But I'm sure she didn't want no scrub either, right?
Yeah, but you see, we are talking since 3 hours almost. I think it was a good the longest interview I had.
I'm gonna let you edit if you want. And when does it come out?
On Friday.
Friday, okay.
Yeah. Cool. It was very interesting and nice. I knew it would be like that. I knew we would have
we didn't
so
speak
many
for
topics to talk about, not only music.
we didn't speak for a while. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's always interesting and very philosophical, and I think, yeah, it. I thank you all the people who stayed until the end.
I
It's
don't think
because
there's
it
many
was
of them.
really interesting. I know more than half of the people already switched off in the middle. All right, how to start.
If anyone stayed this far, they're definitely taking notes and
You will be shoot in the next interviews. Like,
they're saving the video. You know, like
yeah,
I'm keeping the evidence. You know.
you are going to the radios and they will say, I saw an interview about you. You were talking about. So prepare yourself for the next ones, guys.
I'm actually quite liberated at the moment from a lot of that stuff, you know, because it's true. Like when you don't want anything anymore,
Mm.
Everything gets pretty easy, you know, and even the need to say something, I don't feel that so much anymore. It's like I just watch it happen, and you know, I laugh. I actually just laugh.
Yeah.
Because crying doesn't help anybody, you know.
No. 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 And you know, I talked with Patrick, and you saw the interview. I know you know each other very well, and
Very
that
well, quite well, yeah.
and he has a huge respect also for you. We agreed with each other that we learn a lot with you, and he was and I was happy to see that he's also like that now, like,
Oh, he's doing super cool. You know, I had
yeah,
a
let it
video call
go
with him.
and let it flow,
Yeah.
and I was so happy to see him like that, and yeah, and you are right, and he said also the same thing. There's no need to cry, it doesn't solve anything.
Yeah. No, this guy is really on the right path, I think, you know, Patrick.
Yeah.
Like less is so much more. It's not just more, but so much more, you know.
Yeah. And even his songwriting is better than before. It's so great. He's doing so good music, and with this wonderful voice he has, very unique, yeah, and you inspired him a lot for the songwriting too. You know, when he met you, it was like a click for him. Talking about the music and songwriting stuff, you played a big role on his way of thinking about the songwriting stuff now.
Well, you know, I hope so because I say a lot of right shit, you know. But I don't want to take credit for it, you know, because I learned it
And
from
wonderful.
because you know, I took it from, you know, like we were talking about Tom Skinner I took it from other guys.
Yes.
So it's not something that belongs to me, you know. So I can actually take that compliment if someone says, "Oh, it was important," or you know, you influenced the way I think about. You know, I'm glad I did because actually it was not my message. Yeah, I was just the message. Someone said it to me, and I said it to you. You know, I didn't come up with it. And so I'm very happy that Tom Skinner influenced Patrick James. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
So and
Yeah.
I was just a little link in the chain, you know, like.
Yeah, we were talking about the connection to church, and actually they have in Tulsa, they have a lot of videos music videos that they play in the church.
At the church, yeah, they have a venue called the church. Yeah,
Yeah, you see.
yeah, yeah.
So that's how the connection is. And
And
from my side, everybody who knows me know that, but I owe you a lot, because I learned everything I know about music business. Because when I met you, I liked to sing, but I didn't know anything about
But that's
what
funny
was
what you said.
behind the music, you know. I was like, you were like, I need somebody to help me with management. I was
You
like,
just
man, I
you just
don't know
reminded me of
anything.
something. You just reminded me of something. You said, "Oh, I learned with you about music business." And as I said, I believe that it's dead, right?
Yeah,
It reminded me of something I saw on Facebook yesterday, which was like Bulgaria is going to join the euro in on the first
yeah,
of January
I saw
2026.
that.
And I think I even wrote it. I thought that's like that's like the bouncer at the discotheque letting you in at 6:30 in the morning. He finally lets you in, and the drug squad are coming in through the back door, and you're gonna just get in, and 5 minutes later you're gonna get a drug bust, and the
Yeah,
night is over.
yeah.
So like it's the same thing for the music. Learning a lot about music industry is like it's 6:30 a.m.
Yeah, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to program a road management map. I didn't know how to do an EPK. I didn't know how to how what I didn't know about a backline, and I learned all this stuff with you. What I loved the most, I liked everything, but what I loved the most was really the road management. It was so cool to do that, and I learned how it works, how to do booking, how to promote. And you were really a mentor for me, and not only in the music, also in life. You one day you told me, what are you afraid about? And I was like, to lose everything. And you were like, and if you lose everything, what can happen? And I was like, yeah. And this sentence changed my vision of the life.
Hmm.
And if I always tell the people that I wouldn't be here today, and I wouldn't be the person I am, or doing what I am doing, if you didn't if I didn't know you, if you took me, you pushed me up, and you told me, I will teach you things. I will teach you how it works. I will teach you how it goes. And then you gave me the wings, you know, and it was like, I give you the wings, and then it's on you to see what to do with these wings. And I am really grateful. I am really grateful for the wings you gave me, everything you teach me. I continue to learn always a lot with you every time we speak together. And yeah, and for me, you are like my family. You will always be like family for me. You know that. I respect you a lot. I respect your job a lot. I know that when you work, you work. You are an ambitious person. You are very serious when you do something. You do not something just for fun. You res- you have a huge respect also for your own work. Sometimes we we could do things faster, but when you do, you do you do everything to make it happen. And and even for the Groom Club, it was the best experience of my life.
Hmm.
I will never forget the Groom Club. The Groom Club taught me so much. I met wonderful people. I met the open mic was one of the things I loved the most, and I'm really proud of this project. And it was not because of fame or money. No, it was really, like I said, to give the stage to these people, give them the chance to show what they wrote, what they did, and to give them voice. And and to discover so many beautiful people and wonderful songwriters and musicians. And I am grateful. I am grateful for everything I learned with you. I am grateful for all the mentorship, and I am grateful that you are one of the best friends in my life. Thank you so much.
Thank you for today. That was a good, cool conversation. And I know that you will visit sometime soon in Luxembourg, no?
Ah, yes. So I will keep you in touch, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. As soon as I can go there, also to
Mm.
because my parents are there, so also to be
I
with the
will.
family.
I will probably be in Porto sometime in August.
Okay.
So
So
if you're around, maybe we go and not eat a francesinha. But,
no, we
uh,
go to eat
uh,
good fish in Matosinhos.
fica prometido então.
Yeah,
Amiga, olha,
we do that.
gostei muito.
People, don't forget all the links to Lata Gouveia's pages, social medias, the new album. Everything is here in the description of the box. Don't forget, you also can do a donation if you
Send
want
money.
for the podcast.
Send money, people. Send money.
Send money. And follow Lata's music, follow Lata's work. Everything is here. And yes, and thank you for all the people who support the podcast and who support the artists. And we see us next Friday. Thank you so much for this great interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.